It's going. There we go. We should be live. So let me just check. I just had my phone. It's on my lap. And just check we are live in the group. Yeah, we are live. So just everybody who's on, please come and say hello in the comments. As you know who I am, and I'd like to introduce you to the fabulous Claire, who is from Your One Life Healthy Weight Solutions. And Claire is going to come and talk to us this evening for learning how to manage your weight in a world that is just like weight obsessed by food. And if you have any questions, please do pop them in the comments. Because it's StreamYard, what will happen is that we won't know who you are. So if you just sign into StreamYard, that'll be absolutely fine. I can see we've got 4 people on now, which is brilliant. Hello. And yeah, so you just have to sign in. If you don't want to do that, just when you do your comment, just write your name in so we know who you are. Just pop your first name in, and I'm just keeping an eye out on my phone to make sure we're up and running there. So just welcome to Claire. It's lovely to see you again this evening, and thank you for not only just coming on tonight, but actually rescheduling from last week when I was pretty much horizontal 24/7. So thank you so much.
It was absolutely the right thing to do. I think,
yeah.
This wouldn't have been fun for you at all. So
Thank you. I would have pushed through, but you know what, pushing through isn't good, is it? Sometimes
it's not good for us. No, we need to know when to rest. So yeah,
So Claire, I just like you to just tell us all about what you do, how you started, and what's it all about, please.
Okay, so my my story really is that I used to be a serial yo-yo dieter for probably about 25 years, from my early teens up until my late 30s. If you want to find out more about my story, I'm actually in Chat magazine this week on pages 24 and 25. But I will give you a little whistle stop of what it's all about. But it's probably worth showing you these photos, sort of capturing sort of my sort of the when I was sort of at the peak of my yo-yoing. So basically, I just didn't know how to manage myself around food. I'm a foodie. I love food, and but I also have come to realize that I can't eat as much food as I would like to eat and be the weight that I want to be. And the problem that I think we find ourselves in this world that we're living in is actually food is all around us. We live in a world that's obsessed with food, and unless we learn how to manage ourselves within it, we're always going to be destined to be overweight. So we can't change the world we're in, but we can change how we respond to it. And it was that I learned how to do for myself about 12 years ago, finally cracked it. And I've been a healthy weight ever since then, and completely changed my relationship with food, my attitude towards food, and where it fits within my life. And I believe that absolutely is the secret to being able to manage our weight well for life, is changing our relationship with food, seeing it differently. So I basically managed to do that after, say, 25 years of just having a terrible relationship with food and with myself. I mean, my self-esteem was at rock bottom, and my whole kind of thoughts were just obsessed with food and with my weight. And I was just thinking about that's all I identified myself as, was my weight, whether it happened to be a healthy weight or overweight. It was just all consuming. And I was able to basically break out of that over a number of years by working on myself and recognizing what was going on, and recognizing that things needed to change if I wanted to be healthy. And that's what it's all about for me, is about health. It's not about how I look, although obviously I do much more what I see in the mirror, and see how my clothes fit and how I feel when I move around. But ultimately it's about, I realized that if I didn't do something about my lifestyle, because I also smoked as well, then I was not going to be making the most of my life, and we only get one life. Hence why I called my business Your One Life, because I realized that this isn't a practice run, it's not a dress rehearsal. This is it. This is the real deal. And if we don't take the bull by the horns and make our lives what we want them to be, then we're not going to achieve what we can achieve. We're not going to be happy. We're not going to I certainly dragging around a body that was carrying too much weight made me feel physically unwell all the time. And I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. And so basically by kind of recognizing what was going on and changing it, that changed everything. And it all stemmed from changing my attitude towards food. It wasn't about going on a diet. It was actually seeing food differently. All the time I went on diets, all I ever did was stick a sticking plaster over the problem, because I would eat less for a little while, feel great, and then I would just go back to eating what I ate before, because I didn't learn anything and I didn't change anything, and I never stopped that desire for eating more than I needed. Whereas now, my actions are in alignment with what I want for my life in the long run, as well as in the short run. How I ended up doing what I'm doing is a bit of a long story. I'll try and keep it brief, but basically,
I know, want to know.
Okay, so I started my my career in the prison service. I became a prison officer, and it was one of those chance encounter things where a recruitment drive was going on, and I responded to it, and I was successful. And but at the same time as that, I was going through marriage breakup, so I ended up becoming a single parent, trying to do shift work, including night shifts, with 2 small children under 5. Not easy. So I ended up coming out of that, and then I was able to go into the drug and alcohol service. So I worked as a in a community drug team, but I was actually working, because I had the prison background, I was working in a police station, in the police cells, identifying when people were perhaps come in with problems with drugs and alcohol. And the whole point of my role was to try and help people to recognize what was going on, and move them into treatment, try and help them to bring forward the time where they might actually start to break free of the addiction. And of course, when I was doing that work, I started to recognize what was going on for myself, that actually obviously smoking was one of my addictions, but also very much addicted to food, and my behavior around food was damaging. It's damaging to my health, damaging to my self-esteem. And but the problem was that when you have 2 kind of addictions like that, I used to smoke, so I didn't eat, or I used to eat, I didn't smoke. So you try and stop one, and the other one sort of goes up. And of course, that for a long time I believed to be, well, if I was smoking, then I wasn't eating, and I was okay. Or if I was eating, well, at least I wasn't smoking. And like, how the hell am I going to tackle both of these things together? And it took me a long time. And the problem with smoking was that I don't think I really wanted to stop. It wasn't until I got to a point in my life where I started to looking ahead to the future. I was in my early 30s and thinking 40 is not that far away now. And every time I got a cough or a cold, I'd be worrying that I had lung cancer, and I was thinking, it's hanging over me all the time. And the problem, of course, with food is you can't stop eating food. You can stop smoking, but you can't stop eating food. So I've managed to crack the smoking, because I actually got to that point where I realized I actually wanted to stop more than I wanted to carry on smoking. And I had to work. I kind of like developed my own sort of little strategy for stopping smoking, that I used all of the learning from all of the previous attempts that I'd ever done before, of which there were many.
Yeah,
And
that.
and I finally cracked it. And then my turning point with my weight came. I don't know if you can see behind me, I have a few medals, and these are all from my running days. So one of my strategies for stopping smoking was to do something that would make me not want to smoke, to try and protect me from myself, that part of me that still wanted to smoke, because let's face it, it was still there, but it wasn't as strong as it used to be. But
it's
given the right circumstance, sorry,
it's hard to stop smoking. It really is. So it's brilliant achievement.
Thank you. But yeah, so that part of me was always waiting in the wings, ready to sort of come back. So I kind of thought I need to manage that part. So I thought, I'll start running, because like running and smoking aren't that compatible, really, are they? And at this point, my weight was actually in a healthy range, and I'd got it down, and I was feeling really good. And I think it was, loved what I saw in the mirror, and I felt quite slim. I wasn't fit, but at least I was slim. And so I decided to start running. And like you do, I just start with a race for life, and then 18 months later, I'll just do the London Marathon. Like because with me, I don't do things by halves. When I've made up my mind to do something, that's it. I go all in. So I booked the London Marathon, and of course I've started training, and of course I'm building up my distances, and of course my body's going, right, okay, we're doing all this exercise, so we need the food. And of course, naively, I was thinking, well, I'm doing all this running, so of course I can eat what I like, can't I? No, I put on 2 stone while training for the London Marathon. because
Wow.
I was still eating more than what I was burning, because my body was, my appetite was going through the roof. And
Uh-huh.
I was a bit naive, as I say, in terms of thinking, well, how much can I actually eat? And thinking, oh, it's okay because I'm doing all this exercise, so I'll just burn it off. But I wasn't burning it off. I was still eating more than I was burning. And I actually put on altogether, I think I put on 3 stone. By the time I'd got to the start line of London Marathon, I was overtrained because I was training in a body that was not able to carry this extra weight. And so I started the London Marathon 2009, 26th of April 2009, on the start line. I was already overtrained, and I had pain in my hips before I even started. On the night before, I had a stomach upset, which I thought was nerves initially, but it actually wasn't. I actually had a proper stomach upset. So I started with hip pain and dehydrated. So of course, with dehydration, quite often what you get is cramp. So even though I'd done my training, I got to 12 miles, which is where Tower Bridge is, and I'd had to run for most of it up to that point because I was so weak and overtrained, and my body was going, what the hell are you doing? And I was determined to run over Tower Bridge, which is at 12 miles. So I managed to run over Tower Bridge, and then that was it. I had to walk the rest of the way. And walking and running are very different activities, actually. Your body works very differently. So my body was not equipped for walking 14 miles after having run 12. So I ended up with hip bursitis in both hips because I had basically, overused them. It took me 6 months to get back up to running a 10K. I was determined that I wanted to go back to running because it was so good for my mental health. And I was really pleased at the fact that, I was still not smoking, and I didn't want to smoke because I didn't want that to interfere with my fitness. And I was really proud of how much fitter I'd got. But I decided, I've got to sort my weight out. I cannot allow this to continue. This is wrecking my body. It's wrecking my health. And so I thought back to, what did I do when I stopped smoking? And then I just basically went through the same process around food, around weight, around my eating. And basically the way that I did it, because I knew that if I tried to cut my calories too much, I wouldn't be able to run. Because you need energy to run. You need to fuel your body, not just through the energy, but also the nutrition. So I thought, if I want to keep running long distances, I've got to fuel that. So how can I lose weight? Because my appetite is large when I do a lot of running. So I decided to cycle between diet and exercise. So I would only go on like a diet for 3 to 4 weeks, get rid of as much weight as I could during that time, but making sure I was getting good nutrition, and not do any exercise or other than gentle walking. With gentle walking, actually brisk walking is the best exercise for weight loss, by the way, but that's a whole other subject. But running is great for maintenance, not so good for weight loss, especially for women, because it just ramps up our appetite. So we might be able to get away with it for a short period of time, but after a while, but it's really hard when you're tired and you're hungry to not give in, in this food obsessed world that we find ourselves in. So basically that's what I did. And it took me 2 years to lose 3 stone. It took me 2 years to lose 3 stone.
Right.
And the total amount of time in that 3 years that I was actually dieting for was 3 months. But I did it over 3 years, as I say, and most of my time was spent in maintenance, in learning for the first time in my life how to actually maintain my weight.
Right.
And it was doing it that way, doing it slowly, not being in a hurry, and actually, getting used to the new body as I was going, that really made the difference, because it stopped me from getting mental fatigue as well, because obviously it's hard work when you're trying to cut down what you eat in the world that we live in, which is obsessed with food.
Yes.
Some people struggle with being consistent.
Yes.
So it was learning how to maintain and not feel I was missing out on anything. And then I was obviously, in the periods of time when I was maintaining, I was doing my long distance running, and I'd learned by this time that I could eat more, but I couldn't overdo it. I couldn't just take my eye off the ball and have whatever I liked. There still had to be some boundaries. There still had to be some limits in place. But by focusing on the weight loss in short bursts of time, I was able to cut back for more than perhaps I would have done if I was trying to do it more slowly, but knowing that there was a finite end in sight, and that I was managing myself both into those periods and out of those periods. And I very much, you know, focused my mindset on them. And this is what it's all about at the end of the day. It's changing our attitude towards food, seeing food differently, not seeing it as the be all and end all, you know, because the problem with the society we live in is we are obsessed with food. I know I've said it already several times in this
talk. I am.
because that is the truth. Everywhere you look, there is food, and we're marketed to constantly, and we are in a service economy where everything is food and drink. And you know, what do we do when we you know, we've had a tired you know, a busy, stressful week? Oh, let's just order in a takeaway, let's just go out for a meal, let's sit down with a bottle of wine. You know, it's all food and drink. You know, when we go on holiday, it's all, oh, let's go all inclusive, you know,
or, let's try stuff, try different
stuff. And, or you know, you go to, I mean, this used to be one of my big things was, you know, if I go to a hotel and it's got, you know, full English breakfast included, that's it, I've got to have the bacon and eggs, the sausages, the bacon, the hash browns, the orange juice, the muesli, the toast, the muffins, you know, the whole lot. And now I think, well, why? It's not going anywhere. I can have that food whenever I like. I don't have to have it there. And how am I going to feel after I've eaten it? I'm going to feel shit. I don't want to feel shit. So I'm not going to eat that much in the first place. I just take what I need. And this is it. It's about learning how to know what your body needs, how much food your body needs, and don't eat any more than that. Because if we eat more than what we need at the time, what's our body going to do? It's going to turn it into fat. And the problem is that if we're constantly eating more than we need, we're never going to get to that point where our body actually needs to use it up. Because if you think, we're not designed to lose weight voluntarily, we're only designed to lose weight when food is not available. We're living in a world where food is never not available in the Western world. You know, those of us who are fortunate, you know, in terms of, you know, being able to buy the food and drink that we need, you know, we are not going to struggle to get food and drink. Which is why I'm going to plug my book. I do not know why it's showing us brown.
You were looking at this earlier. What's the colour situation here?
This should be green, but this is my book, How to Eat Less. And I wrote it because it is my top 10 tips of how to eat less without going on a diet. And this is how I manage my weight and have done for many years. And even if you only follow 2 or 3 of the things in this book, you will do yourself a massive favor in terms of learning how to manage your weight well for life, because that's what this is all about. It's not about being on a diet. It's actually about how to learn to live in this world that we find ourselves in, that we're not designed for. Everything is on tap, you know, and it's not just about food and drink. You know, it's about anything we want. We can have whatever we want whenever we want it. We don't have to wait for anything. But we've got to learn how to wait for stuff if we want to be able to manage our weight, literally, pardon the pun. You know, and that is, you know, I get on my soapbox about this, and I get very, very passionate about it, because having achieved what I've been able to achieve, very, very few people have been able to manage their weight in terms of losing it and being able to keep it off. About, depending on which studies you read, between 80 and 95% of people who lose weight will regain it all plus more within 5 years, because we don't know how to manage ourselves in this world we find ourselves in. And, you know, there's nothing special about me, but I think there's been a whole sort of set of circumstances, including my whole career. So I started as a the prison service, and then the substance misuse services, and then I went into management, and I had a 20-year career as a senior manager within the NHS, and I've worked in all different service areas. So I've seen birth, I've seen death, and I've seen everything in between. I've seen acute services, you know, where people are coming in for emergencies, and I've seen, you know, community services, GP services, prevention services, you know, health visiting, and all of that sort of thing. I've seen the whole lot, and I think that coupled with my own personal experience has placed me in a unique place to be able to see and then apply the learning to myself. And I think all of the management skills and the people management skills, I was able to turn that inward and actually learn how to manage myself in this world. And so I think it's that combination of experiences that has put me in this place to be able to develop the service that I now do. So I left my management role 2019, January 2019. I decided at that point that, because so many people would say, how did you do it? What did you do? And I would get really passionate when I start talking about it. And I was thinking, why am I not making a living doing this, which is what I love to do? And then I just thought, yeah, why am I not making a living doing this? And then I decided, sadly, my father passed away, but he left me some money, and I decided to use that money to start my own business and to retrain. So I left my job, spent a whole year retraining, doing loads of different things, including a personal training qualification, life coaching, hypnotherapy, NLP, motivational interviewing, menopause, eating disorders, lots of things. Plus also I have my strategic leadership and management qualifications already and my degree and all that sort of thing. So putting all of that together, I then launched my service. And I always wanted to be online. I never wanted to be a face-to-face service because I quite like kind of online work, but I wasn't sure if the world was ready for me. And then I started my business on the 9th of March 2020. On the 22nd of March, I think it was, we went into lockdown, and it forced everybody online. Hello, I'm here. And
took it away from you, didn't it? It was like, this is how it's going to happen.
That's it. And of course, because I'd done all of these courses, and including life coaching, I was thinking, oh, I can help everybody with everything. And that's where I started. And I thought, yeah, but then it wasn't until my first sort of real ideal client presented herself to me, who was basically a younger version of me, a younger version of the old me. And it was when I started working with her, and that was in May 2020, that I realized, yeah, my passion is definitely in the weight loss arena. It's got to be. This is what I live and breathe, and what I know I can help people with, because I know how hard it is firsthand. You know, I've been through it, but I also know it's not impossible. There was a time when I used to think I had the belief that I couldn't manage my weight. I didn't know how to. I was either putting it on or losing it. I didn't know how to be in that space where you could be happy, you know, and everything was focused all around my appearance and what I didn't like about myself. And even when I was at a healthy weight, I still didn't think I'd lost enough, you know, and it was when I started focusing on health and fitness, and I actually became fit enough to become a part-time firefighter, and all of my training then became all about how to be able to survive and do a job that was saving other people's lives. Can't get more highly motivated than that. And it was when I started doing that, and of course all my training was focused on that, being fit enough and strong enough, I stopped caring about what I looked like. And then I suddenly realized that my whole body shape had changed, because I'd focused all my training and I'd got so strong and fit that I looked completely different. And then I was really happy with how I looked, because, you know, I'd worked hard for it, but it was the byproduct. It wasn't the main focus, you know. Whereas, you know, because I've got a background in the NHS, and, you know, I fully and passionately believe that, you know, we've all got the ability to make the most of our lives. And if we don't have our health, what have we got? And obviously, you know, there are many things that are beyond our control, but there are also many things that are well within our control. And it's about controlling the controllables. And for me, I knew that if I didn't stop smoking and I didn't change how I ate, my future was not going to be looking great. And I made the decision to change it. And because I think I had this sort of unique position of all the different experiences I've had in my life, I've been able to pull that together to create a framework and a program that I then help other people to work through and get results like I've had. And obviously it's too soon to say if it's going to be lifelong, because obviously I've only been going 3 years. But, you know, the people that I work with, when they continue to apply what they learn and they continue to work with me, and gradually what I do is I, you know, help people to sort of learn how to be self-sufficient. You know, I don't want people working with me forever, because otherwise that they haven't cracked it. You know, I want people to be able to reach the point where they can go off into the sunset, or just stay in my membership at a lowest level, just for that little, you know, contact and
maintenance.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, I think, you know, if there's any sort of key messages that I would like to sort of share with your audience, Ruth, really is that, first of all, you know, it's about being flexible and taking your eye off the date. Okay, you do not need to lose a certain amount of weight by a certain date. It's about focusing on daily actions. What is your end goal? Yes, you need to know what your end goal is, because otherwise, what are you going to be focused on? You need to, if you want to lose weight, it's like, yeah, but understanding why you want to lose weight. But then think, what are the daily actions you need to do to achieve it, and focus all of your attention on them, and trust that the results will follow. You know, and you don't have to do it all at once. It's fine to take breaks. In fact, our bodies need us to take breaks from being in a calorie deficit, because our body's survival instinct is, as soon as food is not available, what happens? We get hungry. What is hunger? It's a drive to make you go and seek out more food.
Right.
So we
It's that
don't want to
hunter-gatherer instincts coming in that we've lost because we just nipped to the one stop on the corner nowadays, don't we all?
that is our hunter gathering, but it's there all of the time. But it's
Yeah.
not supposed to be. We're not designed for a world where food is constantly available. So when we get hunger, it's part of our survival instincts and it's seeing it as that. So of course, what we don't want to do is put our bodies in a position where they're constantly having to fight that. It's stressful for both body and mind. So by building in what I call strategic maintenance breaks, then what we're able to do is learn how to maintain, and that's when we can ramp up the exercise. That's when we can do things like resistance training, where we can build more muscle tissue. If we build more muscle tissue, guess what, we can eat more food, so because it increases our body's ability to burn calories. So, and that's what I was doing in these strategic maintenance periods, is building up my body's ability to burn more calories, so that when I did get to my goal, it was easier to maintain my weight. And that's, we've got to work with our bodies and not constantly fight against them, because that's what we're doing. As soon as we go on a diet, we're fighting against our bodies, and they're going to fight back because it's survival instincts, and they're really strong.
I think it's really interesting what you're saying about because you're doing exercise, you can still gain weight. Because having been a dancer for most of my career, it was very much, we were told to eat for our boobs so we didn't lose our feminine shape, but to diet because we had to be a certain size. And it wasn't unusual for dance troupe to train and be in England a size 8, and then 3 weeks, 4 weeks into a contract in somewhere like Greece or Asia or wherever we were, people gained weight because they were suddenly, this is Hong Kong, we need to try this, and everything was like, but there was this subconscious thing saying, well, I'm okay because I'm dancing every night for 3 hours doing 3 1-hour shows, and I can eat what I want. But it doesn't work that way, and
we don't burn anything like as much in exercise as we like to think we do. Because what we have to remember is that if our bodies, it's been shown in studies that our bodies have a finite amount of energy they want to burn each day. When we start doing something new, we might see results initially because our bodies haven't caught up to what's going on. But when they catch up with what's going on, what they do is we have what's called a constrained metabolism. So it reins everything back in. So it makes us more tired. It makes us more hungry because it wants us to go and seek out more food. We might get ill because our immune system isn't getting the calories because we're spending the calories on exercise. So we might find that then we fall out of the habit, and then it becomes harder to get back into it because we were into a good routine, and then we got ill or we got injured, and then we couldn't do it for ages. And then exercise really is great for maintenance, and to say walking is brilliant for supporting weight loss, but anything else, it really is like burning the candle at both ends if we're not careful. Right. So we've got to avoid doing that. And the other thing that I would like to share, and this may sound a bit controversial, and I don't mean it to be controversial, but from the place that I'm sitting at, my many years of experience of managing my own weight. I mean, I'm 50. I was turned 50 back in April. I started struggling with my weight when I was about 12, 13. So, it's been going on for a number of years now. I've been, working in this arena, either personally or professionally.
Right.
And, at the end of the day, for the vast majority of people, the reason why we gain weight is because we're eating more than we need. There is no special reason. Yes, certain health conditions make it harder, but it all still comes down to what we put in our mouths and how much we put in our mouths, how we eat. It's the vast majority of people, that is the answer. And I have yet to meet anyone. I've been doing this work for nearly 3.5 years now, and I've yet to meet anyone who didn't lose weight when we got the calories right.
Right. That's really interesting as well. So I was listening to a podcast the other day about the Elizabethans and how I think Queen Elizabeth lost all her teeth because she had a sweet tooth, and obviously we all know about Henry VIII, but the average person wouldn't have been overweight because there wouldn't have been that food readily available for them. It was only really the wealthy, and it
being overweight was seen as a status symbol back then. It was seen as a status symbol.
Yes.
It was something to be proud of. Before we realised how bad it was for our health.
And feeling good, for me, that's the main thing. Obviously, I went through my sort of late teens and 20s in the 80s, where it was a very underrated underweight look that
Oh my
was,
gosh, yes, and everything was low fat, wasn't it?
yeah, everything was like,
Mm.
and the diets then started coming in because everybody wanted to look like the Charlie's Angel, and it was the thing to have a thigh gap,
Yeah, and don't
and I've
forget
always
Jane
been a
Fonda.
hippie girl. Yes. So
Yeah,
I wasn't going to stand a chance of that. But, you know, there was things that then came in, and then there was like the era of the cabbage diet and the
yeah.
Atkins diet. And it
Yeah,
was
been
just
there,
like,
done that. Got the t-shirts. Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and that's great because if you're talking to somebody who's never had to lose weight, how are they going to know? So that's why I really love your ethos, is that you have been there, you've gone through all of this. So if anybody's out there thinking of starting out and thinking, right, this is it, I really want to get my weight, and not just that, it's lifestyle as well, isn't it? Because you can be a decent weight but still eat unhealthily.
Mm.
So how do you start? What's the first thing to start with?
Well, I mean, I would say get my book.
Yeah,
Get it on Amazon, How to Eat Less by Claire Jones. But
we'll put a link in the
yeah,
comments afterwards if you do
will
that.
do. Yeah. So basically, it's, we've got to pay attention to what we're doing, because don't forget, our desire for food sits within our survival system. So we're not hardwired to go, oh, I wonder how many calories is in this. I wonder if I
Yeah,
should, if I go to the healthy portion size. We are designed to eat when food is available. We have stretchy stomachs for that reason. We have the ability to store fat for that reason. It is part of our survival. So we've got to learn to manage that. We've got to learn to overcome it. So that means training ourselves to eat less, smaller portions. One of the very first things that you can do is just ask yourself before you eat, am I hungry?
okay.
If we're eating food when we're not hungry, we don't need it. Simple as that.
It is. And it's that syndrome. I always remember when I worked in schools and colleges that you come back from the 2 weeks over Christmas,
Mm.
and where you probably had eaten and indulged, especially things like alcohol on a weeknight, things like that, or alcohol at home, which you don't normally have,
Mm.
which is a huge, big calorie intake, isn't it, on its own?
Mm.
But people will be bringing in things like their leftover Quality Street chocolates and putting them in the staff room. And you go in, and every time you walked in there, I would have a chocolate. And I
Mm.
don't really eat chocolate. It was because it was there. You know,
Hunter-gatherer. That's what we do. Grab
yeah,
some
I was just
berries as
like,
we walk past, but it's the same principle when you have, food on the kitchen counter or the dining room table. Just don't put it there, and you can't
right.
just grab it,
Yeah, because
little
those
things like
biscuits
that.
don't appear in your drawer by themselves, do they?
No, that's it. But if you think, 5 celebrations, just 5 celebrations is the equivalent of 1 Mars bar. So if you think every time, if you're going in and out 10 times, that's 2 Mars bars you've had.
I would never eat a whole Mars bar.
And it only takes 120 calories a day, more than what we need to put on a stone in a year. That's 2 celebrations.
Right. Which isn't very celebratory, is it, really? It's a bit of a contradiction in the
That's
name.
if you are already eating at maintenance.
Right.
So if you're eating 2 celebrations more than maintenance every day, you put a stone on your year. And
Good
that's
grief.
5 stone in 5 years. So of course, what happens for a lot of women when they hit their 40s is the muscle mass is reducing, because life gets busy and we may not be weight training and doing all those things that help preserve muscle mass. We may have more sedentary lifestyles, not moving as much. And even if we don't eat anymore, we're creating a gap in that, because we may need 120 calories less. We can easily start putting on weight without even changing anything. Of course, if we're also eating more, which we tend to do when we're feeling tired, hungry, stressed, we tend to reach for the comfort foods, that we're not paying any attention of how much we're actually eating of them, because who counts calories on the days where you're not trying to lose weight? I encourage people to do that rather than just save it for the days when you're trying to lose. Because people say, I hardly eat anything. Yeah, because they're only tracking the days where they're trying to lose weight. They're not tracking the days when they're not. So I always say to people, track what you're currently doing, because that will really show you what changes you need to make. So of course, if you're eating more than you need, and you've also got a gap down here that has been created from your reduced muscle mass and lack of activity, you can easily put on more than a stone in a year.
Right.
And of course, a stone in a year is so slow, you don't even notice it's happening.
No.
5 years down the line, when you put on 5 stone, you notice that and you go, how did this happen? How did this happen? And that was me. You're like, how did I get here again? I lost all that weight. And I had this belief that once the weight started going on, that was it. It would carry on going on. I didn't think I could do anything about it. It was like a juggernaut. I didn't think I could stop it. I now know that, you know, a pound goes on and comes straight back off again. It's no problem. My weight is not a finite thing that's static. You know, our weight naturally fluctuates through the day, through the week, through the month, through the year. My weight I allow to fluctuate nicely in like about half a stone. I'm usually a bit heavier in the winter, a bit lighter in the summer, and it just kind of fluctuates. But, you know, I keep an eye on it, and, you know, awareness is key. You know, if we try and bury our heads in the sand, we don't learn anything. You know, and
no, we just repeat.
Exactly. And so the way I like to think about this, and I encourage people to think about, is if you imagine, if you said to somebody who maybe someone said to you, oh God, you know, I'm really worried about money. I keep spending too much. I don't know what to do. Would you say to them, that's okay, don't look at the prices, don't look at your bank balance, bury your head in the sand and just carry on doing what you're doing? Would you say that to them?
Not at all. No.
What would you say?
You say start recording everything that you're spending and what you've got coming in and what you've got going out, and look at it like, yeah.
Same principle. Because we cannot stop being marketed to. We cannot change the world that we live in, but by being more aware of how much we're consuming, we can then start to make better decisions. And the way that I often talk about it is, if you think that there's like an optimum sort of balance of that, we want to try and get best value from calories, taste, because let's not waste a single calorie on food we don't like, and nutrition. So if you can get those three things together, you're winning. But calories is always first, because you can eat the healthiest diet in the world, but if you are still eating too much of it, you will put on weight or you won't lose it. So calories first, quality of those calories are very close second. And make sure that you enjoy every single one of them, because there's no point in wasting calories on food we don't like.
Definitely, yeah, because and my problem is I don't like too many sweet stuff, but if I have savory, I have to be really careful. So I've stopped buying crisps, because I can have 2 or 3 crisps every time I go in the kitchen, and by the end of the day I've eaten one decent sized bag. And I've noticed, obviously I've gone through the chemo and all the medication that I take has got weight gain as one of the side effects, and I know that, but I cannot excuse that. I cannot sit here and say, well, I've gained a stone because of this, because I know that when I really look at what I'm doing, I am going in the kitchen and having a handful of crisps. I've got this really bizarre thing that my daughter just finds really annoying, is I keep things in the fridge, so I love my crisps cold. So that's bad as well, because I open the fridge to get milk for my coffee or tea, and there's the crisps sat there. So that's why I stopped buying them, stopped putting them in the fridge.
What I would say on that, though, from my perspective, is that no food is good or bad. Okay. And for us to deny ourselves the things that we love, that we know are not good for us, is not. It is a bit of a recipe for disaster, because we'll end up having it when we didn't plan to. So if you don't ever want to live your life without crisps, that's okay. But it's how can you build it in so that they don't become that 120 calories extra, that you can build them in so that they are within your boundaries. So if you think of like 80-20 principles, and I quite often talk about this, let's just say, you know, if someone's trying to lose weight on 1,600 calories a day, then if they're following 80-20 principles, 320 of their calories can be whatever they fancy. You know, that's 2 packets of crisps, if you like, or a packet of crisps and a Kit Kat, or, you know, you can have, or if you want to save it up for the weekend, you can have, you know, your takeaway at the weekend or whatever. Because if we try and take away all the things that we love, we're not going to last very long. You know, we're just going to end up living in and then just, oh, what's the point? You know, this is no fun. So we've got to make it fun. We've got to make it enjoyable.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, actually, because like having been a dancer, I remember going for auditions and being told, can you come back in 2 weeks but lose a stone or lose half a stone? Totally forgetting that as a dancer, you're basically an athlete, so you're going to have muscles.
And you need nutrition to fuel your dancing.
And I would get very, very ill, very, very ill. And I've worked with a lot of dancers who had eating disorders because of this constant pressure to not just be a physical athlete on stage. I mean, we would do our final routines would usually be like a long can, a 12-minute long, where you're literally cardiovascular for 12, 13 minutes. So we needed foods, but we were almost conditioned. And there's some horrific cases of girls, a dance troupe that went to Greece, and they were locked in their apartment to lose weight. And, it was very much
That
this.
they used to do. It's shocking,
Yeah,
absolutely shocking.
absolutely. So you
And
then go on a total, right, I'm only drinking water.
it's no wonder people's relationships with food get so mucked up. It's just,
Absolutely.
and this is what I'm all about, is helping people to develop a really nice, healthy relationship with food, and see food, in a way that is not judgmental or critical, but something that, is there to be enjoyed. But it's
Yes.
also, we've got to make sure that we're putting sensible boundaries around ourselves.
Yeah.
If you imagine our primitive self, which is where the desire for food comes from,
Yeah.
doesn't have any boundaries and just does not care about our weight loss goals, right?
Yeah.
It just cares about, that tastes nice and I want some now.
Yeah.
And if you imagine, if anyone who has pets, what are they like at feeding time?
Happiness.
That is what our primitive brain is like when we're hungry. So we've got to learn, just like we have to learn how to manage, and train a pet, we've got to learn how to train that part of ourselves into having those boundaries. And same with bringing up small children. We can't just let them have whatever they want whenever they want it. We have to put boundaries in place. And it's the same principles here, learning how to train ourselves. And it is like training over a period of time. It took me 5 years to completely overhaul myself from where I was to actually feeling like, do you know what? I think I've cracked this now.
I think you have.
And it took me another 5 years to actually realize that I'd cracked it.
Right.
But what I do now is I help people to train themselves so that it won't take them as long, because I didn't know what I was doing while I was doing it, if that makes sense. Whereas looking back, it was like, how did I do it? This all makes sense, and so I developed my framework, and that's what I take people through. In fact, there's, on my one-to-one coaching page, there's a new testimonial that I've recently received, which I've put on my homepage, which basically takes us through her journey of 6 months working with me, and where she was and where she is now, in terms of and how she feels about going forward with the future, and how the work that I've done with her is different to any work that she did with anyone else before. Because it is all about changing your relationship with food. It's not about losing weight. Losing weight is the byproduct. It's about how we stop overeating. I've got a new program out called Beating Overeating, because it is exactly that. It's how do you beat overeating? Because that actually is the secret to lifelong successful weight loss, weight management, is learning how to stop overeating. Because it's all very well saying, I want to go on a diet, but if you haven't actually tackled the fact that you're overeating in the first place, how do you think you're going to follow a low-calorie diet?
And if you do, you're just going to ping back, because it's our inbuilt, it's what we've been conditioned to do. And like, one of the things when I was a kid,
fighting your survival instinct.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah. And then you've got the conditioning that you have to eat everything that's on your plate. As a child, I wasn't allowed to leave the table until and quite often they were big portions that I wasn't going to get through. So it is that all this conditioning, and that's why I get Claire's emails.
Number 5, dispose of leftovers.
Precisely. It's okay not to eat everything. And in fact, in some cultures, it's actually rude to clear your plate. So I'd be like...
The thing is, that message that we got as children was actually appropriate. If you think our parents were the post-war generation, rationing was still not a distant memory. And we didn't know how, when food was going to be available, we didn't snack between meals. So we had to eat, we had to clear everything so we didn't go hungry. Now that's no longer a problem. So it is appropriate to leave things on your plate. And put them in the food waste, or serve less next time, or make leftovers, make a, the next meal out of the leftovers, or, freeze them, or give them to the birds, whatever. But eating them just because you don't want to waste them is not going to do you any favors.
Brilliant. So I get your emails, which are absolutely fantastic. And I do, anybody who's listening to this, and if you do the replay, just put #replay, please, so we know that you're there. I'm on Claire's Facebook group, which is on the banner ad below. And there's some fabulous, it's what I love about all of your emails. They're motivational and they relate. So I had one the other day where you said, instead of saying you can't, say I won't. And that was like, ta-da! that completely mindset shift for not just eating, but other things as well. So I definitely recommend joining Claire's group and getting onto there. And then you get the emails as well, which are lovely, short, concise, beautiful, well worth reading emails. Definitely, I absolutely love them. And then Claire, you did talk about the chat magazine, but you've also been on Trisha. I mean, there's so much that you've been on out there getting this message across. It's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I'm kind of working my way around things because I do feel very, very passionately about this. And this is we're so I think the world we live in, again, as well as being food obsessed, it's also weight obsessed. And
Yeah.
we're constantly told you got to lose weight, but at the same time, here's loads of food.
Yeah.
How are we supposed to manage that? And this is, having been able to crack it myself, I want to help other people to do it because I remember how it was for me, and I know it doesn't have to be like that. And I really want to help. So I'm all about getting out there as much as I can in the media at the moment to try and help change attitudes towards food and towards weight, and also recognizing, we don't have to be thin. It's okay to be, just, I don't like to use word normal, but I consider when I look at myself, I'm not I'm not at my thinnest. I don't want to be at my thinnest. I'm really happy where I am because I've been able to sit comfortably there, and I'm not kind of, I'm not perfect, and I don't want to be perfect, and I want people to see it's okay to not be perfect.
Yes, but you, as we are as individuals, wouldn't the world be really boring if we were all a size 8 or a size 6? Or in America, it's this big thing about the zero thing now, and I'm always fascinated when I'm out and about. I think like bodies are incredible, and it sounds like really weird here, but I just think we were all such beautiful, different shapes and sizes and different cultures. I've worked in places like Turkey where they look at us and go, "Do you eat? You're so small. You're tiny. What is wrong with you?" And then in Asia where they say, "Oh my God, you're so big. Look at the size of you." And, it's very cultural. It's very personal.
It
It's
is very
very,
personal. It is very personal. And I think for me, the key thing is about wanting to be healthy.
yeah,
And I'm not here to say to anyone, you should lose weight. But if someone wants to lose weight and they're struggling, then I'm here to help. And it's about helping them to come to learn how to get to the weight that they feel happy with. And
feeling good.
that's all that matters. And, it's being optimally healthy. So finding a weight that you feel comfortable with, that you feel healthy at, you feel comfortable with, and you like what you see in the mirror, and you can stay there. It's all very well getting to a really low weight, but that's a really difficult thing to maintain.
Yeah, it is. And it's not nice.
Yeah.
Friend, I lost a lot of weight when I was going through my divorce, and I went down from about 8.5 stone to 7 stone within about 6 weeks. It was very quick and rapid. And I wasn't not eating. I think I was stressing it off, but I was not looking good at all. I looked very unwell, and I felt it as well. So it was like finding that relationship with food. And I think, we want to have that relationship with ourselves where we feel happy and not pressurized because we're looking the way we want to look, not the way we've been conditioned to, and how to have a healthy intake of food for ourselves as well.
And it's seeing food as, something to be enjoyed, but also something to nourish both body and mind. Because if we're trying to nourish our mind only, chances are we're probably comfort eating. Whereas if we're thinking about nourishing our body as well at the same time, then we'll be looking more holistically about, what do we need? And if 80% of our diet is nutritious, then we've got our 20% to play around with, and we can have whatever we like, and no kind of, judgments on that. And this is all about, learning to look after ourselves better, because if we want to live a long and healthy life, it's got to start with what are we eating, and how much are we eating,
What's
and
going in.
yeah, absolutely, because we are what we eat. Health is wealth. So what's the better way to invest in our health than to eat healthy eating?
Just going to see if there's any questions on the comments, because they're not coming up on mine for some reason. I can see there's some comments, so just see if there's any questions there. Where have the comments gone? Comments 3. Oh, so Naomi's going to watch the recording. So if you're still there, Naomi, that's okay if you missed the beginning. And Christina and Sandra, they're saying hi. So anybody who's like watching or watching the replay later, please put in there. I was going to ask, how do people find you, Claire, after, you know?
Okay. Well, obviously you've got, if you search on Facebook for Your One Life Healthy Weight Solutions, you will find both my Facebook page and my Facebook group. If you look on Instagram, I'm on Your One Life UK. Twitter, although I'm not really on Twitter, or X, what it's called now. LinkedIn, where else? Oh, and on my website, of course, www.youronelife.co.uk. And then if you visit that, if you visit the options page, you'll see all my prices, all the different things I offer. Now, I'm very passionate about trying to make sure there's something for every budget. Yes, my one-to-one intensive work is obviously the most expensive, but it's not the only way to work with me. I do have low cost options as well. And anyone who does any of my programs, whether that's with me one-to-one or through the do-it-yourself versions, anyone who completes my programs is then eligible to join my membership, which is has got 3 different levels as well within it, which is obviously trying to make it as affordable as possible. And yeah, and I think it's that kind of recognizing, I think that, you know, if we're struggling to be consistent with everything we've tried before, then that means there's more work that needs to be done, and I'm here to help with that, and I want to help. And you know, I was very, very passionate about the work that I do, and you know, I'd love to meet anyone new to come to join my free Facebook group where I do my my Monday morning live videos, not every week. I also run free challenges in the group as well to help people get more consistent. But if you need anything over and above that, then obviously I'm more than happy to have a chat with anyone about the kind of work that I do and how I can support. So, and get on my mailing list, because that's obviously you'll get
Definitely, I definitely recommend mailing list, because like, you know, your emails are so good to read. They really are. When I see them coming in, I don't sort of like swipe left. I'm like straight on there, start it up. I'm going to read that as soon as I can, because they're just full of value. Really are. Really
Thank
are
you. And of course, you're going to come into my group soon, aren't you? And we're going to have
we'll
do the same in my group. Yeah, no, that'll be cool. Looking forward to that.
Fabulous. So if anybody has any questions, we'll put the links in the comments afterwards for you, so you know where Claire is. But if you can't find Claire, then just come and find me and I'll point you into Claire's direction and signpost you there. If you do watch the replay, I'm getting very dark in here. My little light's like waning here. So I do apologise. I keep forgetting to put the light on because we've been so used to the light nights that
yes, of course, yeah, they're drawing in now, aren't they? Autumn is on the way.
I went to take Myra out at 9 last night. It was dark, but there we go. We're heading into that restful period of the year, so it's not bad at all. Yeah. So yeah, come find me if you can't find Claire. But I highly recommend. I've known Claire for a few years now because we sort of trained with the same company and everything. And Claire, it's been phenomenal tonight. Your energy and your enthusiasm is so wonderful. It really is. It's like it's really coming from inside and it's really heartfelt. We can hear it. And the fact that you're not telling, you're saying, I've been there, I've been through this, which is immense for people as well. So I know there's a few people who sent me comments and messages saying they're not coming, but they're going to watch the replay. So put your replay hashtag in so we know that you've been there, and just let us know. But thank you, Claire. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. It's been a pleasure to join you. Thank you for having me, and obviously happy to come back anytime. Just let me know.
Brilliant. So yeah, we'll have to maybe do a follow-up in a couple of months' time and see how people are doing, and maybe go, because the Christmas boom is coming where there's just going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I will be doing my program, my Beating Overeating program, again in November, for those who are perhaps worried about Christmas and how they're going to manage. So, because I know Christmas is a difficult time for you. I used to be terrified of Christmas. I'm not anymore, but it took quite a long time to get over because I just couldn't manage it. So yeah, I know how hard it is. So I always want to help at that time of the year. So yeah.
So we'll still be on. When I switch, we'll end the broadcast and I'll have a catch up with you after. But for now, bye everybody, and enjoy the bank holiday. It's good to be back in the land of the living. See you later. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.